I wanna try and take in all the highs, embrace them for more than a moment's time. I want you, please don't move when I push you away. I know I contradict myself some days, but will you ride the lows with me?
Welcome to Mental Health News Radio. I am your host, Kristin Sunanta Walker. Our goal is to help discussions about mental health be a regular part of your daily life, no different than discussions about physical health. Mental illness can be a topic of discussion under the umbrella of mental health, along with so many other topics. This show is the original program on mentalhealthnewsradionetwork.com. Our network of shows are played in over 180 countries and cover more topics under that umbrella than you can possibly imagine. We were talking about mental health long before it became cool and popular to talk about, and thank goodness it has become so popular. We have incredible guests, advocates, patients, experts, people. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy our intro music, a song named Lows, written by Aubrey Toon. You can find her music at www.aubreytoone.com.
That night when I started praying, I cried, will you ride the lows with me? Will you ride the lows with me? When I'm down, my vision gets blurry.
Hey everyone, I am here with my good friend, Catherine Greer Limpo. Hi.
Hi, Kristin. I'm so glad to talk to you today.
I know it's been a while. It's been since I moved, I think. So we're talking maybe February?
I think
January?
we talked after COVID started.
Oh,
So
okay.
I think actually it's been maybe May, but it does feel like it's been a long
A
time.
long
It feels like it's
time.
been at least a quarter and certainly a couple seasons.
Exactly. Although, as we're going to talk about perseverance today, since we're doing our part of our Women Who Lead series on Mental Health News Radio, and we were just saying that we just found out, I think yesterday, that Justice Ginsburg has passed, and it seems like every day is the worst day of your life, and it's Groundhog Day.
Yes. Yes. It feels like we're waking up to one tragedy after another these days.
Yeah,
Very, very trying and difficult.
very. And can't, like, I am finding like I don't I'm able to enforce boundaries better than I have ever in my life now. And I feel like, and I'm not saying I think COVID's a good thing, please don't mistake that, but I feel like it's given me this extra excuse, sort of, even though that's not the right word, to enforce boundaries, because that is so huge, and what's going on politically and everything is so huge that that's sort of your free pass to say what you really think, do what you really feel, enforce boundaries, that kind of stuff. Or do you feel like that?
I feel like that in a really big, broad way, actually. And you and I have talked before that, it's so important for us to take care of our mental health. And
Right.
if it's right for folks to have a wise counselor that they talk to and bounce things off of. And I happened to talk to my wise my wise counselor this morning. We're talking about this very thing. So if we just step back and, oh God, I even hate to do this, look at 2020 as a whole.
Right.
It's
A
been
black hole. Yeah.
it's been a big year. I mean,
Yeah.
regardless of where you fall in the political spectrum, even it's been a big year full of ambiguity, full of confusion, um, in many cases full of personal difficulty. Folks who have lost their jobs or their livelihood or lifestyle has made a drastic shift from what it was before.
Yeah.
School has changed, right? So it's a
Mhm.
different dynamic and pressure in the family. COVID has made things difficult, not only in terms of daily life and isolation, but even in how we relate to one another, or if and when we see family, and if and when we travel. Um, and then just underlying kind of civil unrest. So, I think of, oh, yes, and we can't forget, I'm in Portland, Oregon, and
Mm.
our state is on fire.
Yeah.
And we're on the kind of away from the initial danger point of where it was, but it doesn't mean that there wasn't loss of property and life, and certainly a beautiful landscape and natural resources that we have available to us here in our state, not to mention the rest of the fires on the West Coast. So, even before yesterday, September 18th, when Justice Ginsburg died, it seemed that there was quite an accumulation of unsettling events and just latent atmosphere around us. So,
Yeah.
I would say that all of those things that I just mentioned in sort of this rambling way have been things that we are not able to control. I mean, in some
Exactly.
cases of like politics, we have a vote, right? And I would strongly encourage everyone, even if you have not felt it was important in the past, to exercise that right this year, because it's more important than ever. But on the whole, it's been things that we can't control. And frankly, the fire was the biggest reminder of that for me. It was this physical manifestation of something big and horrible that you can't control. And it
Yeah.
was very real. And, the air quality today is great. We're probably 10 days out of the worst of it, but it's still a reminder of what we just came through. And so, in talking about that in sort of a long winded way with my counselor this morning, it really came back to boundaries, just like you're talking about, Kristin.
Mm.
And what can we control? What's important to us? What values do we have? And in times of uncertainty, it's important to dig into ourselves, and really understand what's important to us. What we want to feel, what we don't want to feel. And now's the time for that rebirth too. We could be proverbial phoenixes, or pheni, what's the plural of phoenix, rising up from the ashes of this uncontrollable tragedy that's unfolded around us for, it's September, the last 9 months, frankly. It's been horrible.
Yeah. And what's interesting is wherever you sit politically, it we're all feeling the same angst. The left is certainly
Mm-hmm.
upset. The right is upset. Like, so even if you're so far away from agreement about, politics, we still have to sit with this thing which is just like COVID. Like, this thing is upsetting to everybody. So you have a common thread with everybody in your upsetness, not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily what you're upset about.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. Exactly. And I have to ask you, has this also led occasionally to a time of just doing a self check and going, okay, why do I need to be upset about that?
Oh God,
Or
absolutely.
I think that's part of the boundary identification and kind of filtering process that we've had to go through, you know, really digging into core and figuring out what's important and what's not important.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely pulled away from people much more quickly that are unhealthy for me, and done it without the guilt and just done it, like not lamented over it for months and kept something going on for months that was definitely unhealthy, or, because it's like, I don't have the bandwidth to deal with that. So I am not gonna, and,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not going to feel bad about it. So,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel sad for, that person, or, cause if you pull away from somebody, it's for a reason, but it's, I don't know, the time I used to take with lamenting about it and keeping it going, cause I felt bad, blah, 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 that has dwindled
Mm-hmm.
significantly, which is good.
It is good. And, maybe it's about acutely understanding, what we want to feel and what we don't want to feel. I think about things like that in the in the context of my relationship with my mom when I was a child. I can talk about this because I know she doesn't listen to these podcasts.
There you go.
But it was difficult. I had a difficult relationship with my mom growing up. And occasionally I will run across another relationship in my adult life that reminds me of the way that I often felt as a child with my mom.
Yeah.
And I think the beautiful thing now is that I can choose to engage in that or not. I'm not a helpless child living under her roof who has to just suck it up. I can
Yeah.
choose whether I want to feel those feelings anymore or not.
It's true. That's very true. I mean, yeah. And I can say this because who I'm referring to doesn't listen either, but I put myself in a situation where I, over the course of time, found out that this person is, I know an alcoholic is an alcoholic, but I'm talking a drunk, that kind of an
Mhm.
alcoholic, like drink yourself to sleep every night kind of alcohol. And so I've felt in the relationship like I can't really have a friend with this person. I feel like I'm being lied to all the time.
Mhm.
Um, and the reality is you are being lied to because you're not having a friendship with someone who's actually present.
Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
reality. They're lying
Mhm.
to themselves, first of all, and in denial. And so, of course, they're also lying to everyone else in their life.
Mhm.
And that kind of stuff is like, you know what? There's so much going on right now in the world, and so many stressors, and so many people that I love and care about, and that love and care about me. I am not hurting for friendships. And instead of saying, oh, I'm going to stay in this because I feel bad for this person, being codependent about it, it's like, because you can't explain to someone, you can't talk reason to someone who's a drunk. You can't, because they're not all
Mhm.
there. And so
Mhm.
I tie that with COVID in that we're being shown how finite life actually is. We're being
Mhm.
shown how little time we have really here. And so do I want to spend any of my time engaging in people that aren't present? And
Right.
had we not been this year, I would have engaged in that a lot longer.
Mhm. Yeah. This year has changed a lot of people. I think it's particularly for those who have some self-awareness anyway. I think that acute awareness again of, what we choose to feel versus what we don't want to feel anymore is so vivid. And I guess before, and it sounds ridiculous to say this out loud, I don't even know if I saw it as a choice. I saw it as a byproduct of, this relationship that I wanted to engage in. And therefore it had to be tolerated in order
Right.
to, endure this relationship that somehow I had an obligation to maintain.
Oh my gosh.
And
Thank you for saying that. Oh my gosh. Yes, 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 yes. Wow.
yeah, but it's really not the case. And furthermore, we can love that person just as hard as we possibly can. but release them in love and light, because there's something there that, we're choosing not to feel anymore. And that's okay.
Right.
It's really okay.
And I feel like even all the, the things that you hear from the level of blame and shame and everything that gets tossed out there, especially on social media and in the news, and finger pointing, and it's all the things that we've talked about narcissistic abuse.
It is.
It's
It totally
every
is.
single one of those things. Word salad,
Yeah.
blame shifting, I mean, just gaslighting.
Gaslighting in large, all caps.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I hope that what it means is that we're really refining our, our sense of selves, that we're really like a lot of people have said, yes, things are awful financially, we're scared, but I've never spent this much time with my family. And for some people, that's been horrible. And for other people, it's been, wow, I didn't realize how much I was missing out on.
Right. Right. And I think that what underlies most of this is kind of this resilient spirit of, we can do it. But it's those who have really taken this time to do some self-reflection and honing in on, whatever it is they were called to target. So whether it's, leadership skills or kindness or patience, certainly this time has tried my patience, being home with my 12-year-old 24/7. I love that boy more than anything, but 24/7 is a lot.
Oh man.
It has been a lot. So if we think about just all of this in the grand scope of perseverance, and leading through adversity, even, how thankful I am for the time to be able to really identify what I will tolerate and what I won't anymore, because it's going to help me going forward. So, we talked about a friendship, like a friendship that had to go, or at least an acquaintance that had to go as a result of a line that you drew, right? I feel like with all of this chaos bubbling up around us, if we step back and take a look, it's really organized, right? It's compartmentalized into politics, into, gender bias, into race relations. But all of it comes together to create, one big massive problem that needs something done about. So maybe this sort of shaking away of the chaff for us is the refinement of our strengths. How do we get rid of the distraction so that our battery is effective? We're not always giving out anymore. We're in a position where we can take in because we've drawn the boundaries in the right places. And now we can move forward and persevere.
I hope that's it.
Me too, damn it.
I mean, I think that's where we have to sit right now, is with, I don't sit and cling to hope. I'm not a clinger anyway, but what it just seems like one thing after another, and the people that maybe weren't hit hard of my friends, the pandemic hasn't hit them all that hard. Well, because it's their life, they worked from home already or whatever. Well, then they're in fires.
Right.
They're in California, or
right.
It's like everybody's going to get slimed. No one's getting off scot-free here in any of the stuff that's gone on. And so I guess you're right. It's really testing, who are you? And Joe said this actually today. I called him, and my editor, and I was talking about this person that's never gone to counseling, probably won't go to counseling because, alcohol is the great avoider of all things, especially digging deep. And he said, there'd be so much catching up to do with you, Kristin. It wasn't an even friendship anyway, because it's so much catching up, just not in a I'm better, not that way at all, just because of the amount of work that I've put in.
The healthier mindset.
Yeah.
The healthier being.
And so like you don't have to explain why you're upset. You don't have to answer a text that you, like that thing you said about friendships, like you thought that you had to stay in. I called a friend of mine. I said, what do I do with this, drunk text I got from someone? And he's a long-time recovery alcoholic drug addict, actually Johnny Calloway from Morphin 2 UU. And he goes, why do you even have to, what is it that makes people think that they have to text back? Like, just people like that will go away. You don't have to be polite. And I say that and tie it to COVID as well, because there are, there have been other people that have been rude or whatever. And I still would be nice, and now because of everything going on, I'll go, I don't need to wave at that person. I don't wish them ill, but I don't need to, what am I doing that for? Because that's polite society. Or so even making those kinds of decisions of, okay, well, that's still an expenditure of my energy to go out of my way to chit chat with someone that I don't want to chit chat with. And guess what? COVID, sorry, don't have time.
Right. Right. Yeah. My younger brother has a work from home job anyway. He's a software engineer, and very much an introvert. Really thought he had died and gone to heaven when all of this started, because he didn't have to interact with anybody anymore. And he said, and frankly, I was a little worried because there was a lot coming up in our social calendar, which would have taken me out of, where I really wanted to be in terms of my comfort zone. So COVID was like a godsend in terms of being able to, dig in and not talk to people that I didn't want to talk to begin with.
Yeah.
And, I think much of this, and I don't know if you've had this sense lately, but, with the whole Groundhog Day illustration that your son was talking about, which I love because that's what it's felt like. I've said, I can't even count how many times I've had enough. I've just had enough. I don't know how much more I can take. And I don't know if that's been a challenge out to the universe. Like, oh yeah, well, take this,
It is. Yeah.
And how about try that one?
The universe loves to answer questions. So be careful what you ask it. Yeah.
So I think it's less, how much more can we take? And now, and really it's just a statement of, I've had enough. And every time I say that, I feel a little bit stronger. It's not a weakness to say, I had a fucking enough of that. Okay, stop, enough. It's actually a clear sense of strength that's being verbalized with a clear boundary that says, no more. I'm not going to take any more of that. Now, it's hard with some of the stuff that we can't help, like the fires and COVID. But even within that, there are things that we can control to a degree. We can control whether we want to help other people who are going through the same hardship.
Right.
We can control whether we want to go somewhere where there's no smoke. We can control whether we want to donate to the Red Cross.
Right.
There's, there's power in having had enough. Whether it's with what we're dealing with right now at work, whatever.
Yeah, I think too, because of this permission in our perseverance, or that, or, I don't know, permission in our perseverance. I like that.
Yeah, I like it too.
I don't tolerate things as much as I used to. there is power in our perseverance, and we have permission now to do things that maybe we wouldn't have done before. And so I found myself having an easier time not engaging with people that are, that kind of pat you on the head or, oh, sweetheart, that's not what I meant, when I'm like, yeah, but this is what you said. Apples and oranges are not, like, you said this. I've told you it's illegal, or I've told you that's immoral because that's how I feel about it. And the answer back being, oh, pat you on the head and, oh, sweetie pie, I didn't mean it that way. It's usually a guy that does that kind of thing, but oftentimes it can be women too. And
or you must just not understand.
Exactly. And I've been like, I'm going to go with my gut on this one. And I don't care that you are in denial and have told yourself that you're right. Because, this donkey that I am has enough weight on its own back already walking around. So it's been nice in that way to have permission to be like, no.
Yeah. And to get the voice heard. Right.
And to get to hear your own voice and have that be more than enough.
Yes. Yeah. We were talking a little bit before we started recording about work, and this perseverance even manifesting itself, at work personally, or how we lead our teams. Oh my gosh, perseverance. I got to give my team every credit in the world for, just completing I've lost count now, week 30 from working at home. And I think of the woman in my group, managing 2 high school students while executing her full-time job, Yeah. Same with me doing 7th grade now, from home. Things that we will and won't tolerate at work anymore, being spoken over. I have an illustration of somebody just trying to explain something to me in a meeting. And this doesn't have to be a recent illustration. It's something from, maybe a little while ago, where a man thought that I didn't agree with him, and therefore I just didn't understand. So there was great effort being taken for the next 5 minutes to really get down to the core of the issue and explain it well to me. Because if I just had more detail and I just could really, understand the insight behind the theory, that I would agree. But the fact is, I didn't fucking agree.
Right.
And explaining it to me for however long with whatever words you want to wrap around it was not going to work, because I still, on the other side of it, did not agree. And so I said, James, thank you for your explanation. However, and I went on to make my own point. But I think it's just a matter of, I've had enough. That's enough. I've had enough of being lied to, the gaslighting aspect of almost everything going on around us right now. I've had enough of being told to be quiet. I've had enough of being told that I should put up with a relationship, even if I don't want to feel the way I feel when I'm around that person.
Yep.
Nope.
And I've had enough of explaining why.
Yes.
Because a no is a no. And there's so much going on that I feel empowered. And I feel like what this is teaching me is just really shoring up my personal boundaries, and that my opinion, which, I do the work, I go to therapy, I have friends that are all amazing people that are about half of them, or if not more, are counselors. I mean, it's not like, oh, my opinion, I'm some narcissist and my opinion is the only thing that counts. It isn't that. I still take in information and what have you, but there are things that you can draw a line in the sand in.
Mm-hmm.
And for this year, this time, that line in the sand has not moved closer and closer and closer to me, inching up on where it's drawn. It has really stayed like, nope, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Good. We're learning to protect ourselves.
Yeah.
And we need to, because it is too much. It is enough. I was listening to a short reflective message I mentioned to you by Nadia Bowles-Weber this morning. I just love her. Very radical thinker, minister of the people. And her point to us was that if it feels like too much, it's because it is.
Right.
And if we think about the way humans were designed, it was to deal with the stress and to have the capacity to process the environment of a village, of what was going on directly around you. And now that we have the ability to have access to so much information and really the ability to understand and process things at a much more global level in a lot of ways, it is too much. No wonder you feel overwhelmed, and no wonder you feel the need to tuck in and to really examine where those boundaries belong. It's not that you arbitrarily put them there. They belong there for a reason. They're to protect you.
Yes. I had a situation, and in terms of, like what that line can be, because it can be, that line in the sand is different for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I had a situation where someone, listeners, I don't know if you can hear my donkey in the back. Did you hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Say hello to Jasper, listeners. We are not editing this out.
Nice. I love it.
He's been braying a lot lately. I had a situation with someone, a large male, thinking it was funny to grab the side of my head and pull me in for a kiss, a pretend kiss with their mouth open, because I was wearing a mask. And he thinks masks are ridiculous. And this is someone I literally just met. And all this stuff went around with it of, this is what this man feels he's entitled to do with women. That's not any different than Donald Trump. And a line in the sand for me was, he came back on this property, and there were witnesses to when this happened. And one of those witnesses is someone who's supposedly a friend. Well, that friend didn't tell me that this person that is not safe, that witnessed what happened, did not even give me a heads up. Oh, by the way, he's here. Just letting you know. And then proceeded to invite me to go to some shindig on the property where he would have been at. And you know what? There are 100 people that could say, you're just too picky. That'll give it a rest, Kristin. Who cares? That's not that big of a deal. But you know what? It is a big deal to me. I would not, and it is not, I don't care about explaining why that's not okay. I don't want to be friends with somebody who wouldn't get that.
Right. Well, and we don't need to be in positions that incite more drama. Don't we have enough drama going around?
Exactly. Like, who wants to go to a party, with your neighbors right now? First of all, aren't we supposed to be social distancing still? And secondly, no, I don't want to go sit around with a bunch of, drunks getting drunk and standing around by a fire. No, that's not what that's not where I want to put my time right now. But that's what I mean by those lines, like permission to be okay with also not explaining. Because I think as women, we explain ourselves ad nauseum.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. And we feel we have to, because our decision we feel in some cases isn't enough. It's not just that the decision is there, it's we have to prop it up somehow with some rationalization, and we don't. You're right.
Yeah.
Ah,
In that respect, and that is from years of perseverance.
mhm,
And we're being pushed to the test. The only thing that makes I still get angry about is, I know that we know now that there was meddling in our elections by the Russians. We do know this, and God knows what other countries. But the fact that it happened, and that everything that they were trying to do has worked. Like the reason why they meddled was to divide us. The reason why they meddled was to,
mhm,
cause chaos and to take a few notches out of the United States. And guess
right.
what? They won.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
what is our job? Our job is to get it back together, to get it together and persevere and get through this time and come out stronger.
yeah. Well, in a way, that's a huge gaslight as well, right? It's um, something has been there as a negative influence, but somehow we've not us specifically, but I think there's been some denial around whether or not that has actually occurred. And it's a tragedy how often we've allowed ourselves to lie to ourselves over the course of the last 4 years. It's just really amazing to me. But you're right, you know. Um, and I guess part of the problem to solve going forward is those types of vulnerabilities and how we strengthen ourselves against those.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's tested us too in terms of, okay, you can't close your eyes. Like you got to really, you have to really work hard to not see the stuff that's going on.
Hmm.
You would
Yeah,
have to,
absolutely.
you'd have to live in the middle of a forest with no internet and be there for over a year to have no clue. Like it's not unnoticeable. And so
No. Hmm.
knowing that there are racists that live next door to you, it's like a lot of stuff has gotten exposed in this ugliness. So no longer, I had somebody say to me the other day, oh, but that person is so nice. They were going on and on about someone that, lived next door to them. And I said, that's the thing. Didn't people say that about Jeffrey Dahmer?
Hmm. Yeah, that he was a great neighbor.
Yeah. So we're realizing, oh, right. This sort of collective amnesia or whatever, smoke that's been hanging over, fog over all of us, where we could politely ignore things
Hmm.
that are horrific, like racism. Um, we can't ignore those things.
No, and even the election meddling,
Yeah.
that divisiveness that was really the goal of that. Okay, maybe it worked, right?
Hmm.
But do we not know better now?
Right.
Do we not have the opportunity to do the right thing now? And even to come full circle within this conversation, we have more information now to draw the right boundaries than we ever have before. So
Yes,
let's put them where they need to be.
that's right.
It's not a bad thing to have a boundary. Put them where they need to be. That's what perseverance is about. It's about figuring out where they need to be so that we can maintain the strength that we really need to persevere.
Yep. Agreed. I think that's a good end note for today's show of Women Who Lead with Catherine Greer Limpo. Thank you so much for picking this topic.
Thank you, Kristin. I appreciate it.
And listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mental Health News Radio. Hi, listeners. I'll make it quick. These are some really cool places that give discounts and other cool things for listeners of Mental Health News Radio Network. If you want to get amazing help with healing from narcissistic abuse, go to healfromanarcissist.com. If you want CBD products that are the best of the best, I use them myself, go to PROZE.com and use the code mentalhealth20, mentalhealth20. If you want to get daily perk ups that help retrain your brain to think more positively, go to perkupdaily.com. And also, just because this one's fun, snarkycandles.com. I guarantee you'll love them. Snarky with a Y, SNARKY candles.com. And don't forget, if you want to hear all the shows on the network about first responders, you can go to firstresponder.mentalhealthnetwork.com, and all of our shows that focus on narcissistic abuse, narcissistabusehealingnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, and back to the show.
But will you ride the low, low, lows with me? Will you ride the low, low, lows with me?
One thing you can always count on at Mental Health News Radio Network and my show is that there will always be dogs around. Why? They are natural healers, excellent for your mental health. The original therapy dog Miles has something to say in just a moment. For now, please check out all of our amazing shows at mentalhealthnewsradionetwork.com and all your favorite podcast apps. Until next time, I'm Kristin Sananta Walker, and thank you for listening.
Me tonight, and I can ride the low, low, lows with me. I can ride the low, low, lows with me. Till my vision clears up perfectly. I can ride the low, low, lows with me.
Good boy.